Hi again, everyone, and welcome back to Leadership Roles, where we believe leadership isn't just a role, it's a way of life. So whether you're leading a team, a community, or simply leading yourself, we're here to help you unlock the roles to lead your life with purpose and impact. I'm Nick Caniglio, joined by my co-host Marnie Stockman. Together, we co-authored Lead It Like Lasso in the Business of You, and we're thrilled today to have Jeff Utecht on the show with us.
Yeah, we are. So Jeff is an educator, speaker, and author focused on what it means to stay human in a world increasingly shaped by AI. So he had us at his latest book title, which is Humans Still Required, right?
Sure
it
did.
challenges us to rethink the skills that actually matter as technology really accelerates around us. So with a background spanning from international schools, innovation, and digital learning, Jeff spent his career helping people navigate change without losing what makes them uniquely human. So welcome to the party, Jeff. And did I get that right?
That sounds great. Yeah. Thank you, Marnie. Thank you for that. That sounds about right. Yeah. So
We're
perfect.
excited to have you. So as we do, we kind of do this with each one of our guests. We do a quick Biscuits with the Boss, because we're big Ted Lasso fans, icebreaker questions. So you ready for this, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. First thing that comes to mind. So first concert, best concert.
First concert was probably my best concert because I don't go to a lot of concerts. But it was Toby Keith. I was in high school and it was up on Silver Mountain in Idaho. So you have to take a gondola to the top of the ski resort, and then they've got an amphitheater up there. So beautiful sunset, just ridiculous. And I don't know, I maybe went to 3 other concerts after that, but that one was like first and by far the win.
Yeah. When you start there, you don't need to do more.
Yeah, it's hard to go back to just, a concert arena. So
right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Oh, 100% coffee. I live in Seattle. It's got to be
yeah,
coffee.
That you don't want to be slanderous to the state.
Yeah. They'll kick me out
Dog
of
or
the city.
cat?
Sorry?
Dog or cat?
Cat. We have 2 beautiful Maine Coons. We traveled the world. My wife and I lived overseas for 10 years. We traveled the world with our cats. And then when they passed, we moved back here and we have 2 beautiful Maine Coons that we love and adore and drive us crazy as cats do.
Yeah, they do. So how do you like your books? Paper, electronic, or audio?
That's a really good question. I like my books paper and audio. So one of the things that I found about me, and we can talk about this, is I'm dyslexic. And so what I have found that works best for me is having the audio version by far and away, which is why I also love podcasts, because I just absorb more through listening, because reading is a struggle. But I love having the paper copy and listening so I can highlight and read and follow along. And so it's not one or the other. That's my go-to if I can. I've tried to get on the Kindle. My wife reads her Kindle constantly. I just really struggle with the Kindle. So I'm a either paper or audio, or my go-to is both if I really am trying to get into something. So
yeah, you sound like that's how you're solving the problem that I have with audio, which I like, and it's convenient. Is I want to take notes right there, then. I can't tell you how many screenshots I've taken of darn Audible so I can find out in chapter 4 at 19 minutes and 16 seconds. There's a quote I was interested in. Oh,
yeah, it's so true. And, traveling a lot, it makes it really nice. If I can get the book and then be able to download the audio, I can sit on a plane, put my earbuds in and just, have it read out loud to me as I follow along.
Perfect.
Maybe that's the way my schooling was, and that's how it happened, but that's the best for me. So.
I second that. I think that's absolutely the best for me as well. So last question, a little deeper. Leadership, more art or more science?
Oh, I think leadership is all about the art. I think, leadership is about the interpersonal skills. It's about being able to read a room. It's about being able to read your community, your culture, and being able to adjust on the fly. And I feel like that is the art of leadership, whether you are leading in a classroom or you're leading in a boardroom, being able to, you can have all the science of leadership, but if you can't connect to people and you don't understand what makes people tick and you can't motivate people at their core, that's where, that's where real leadership shows up. And so, yeah, for me, it's 90% art, 10% science.
Well, that is why a human is still required.
That's right. Yeah, for sure.
That might be my favorite succinct answer that we've gotten to that question, Jeff, because I subscribe to that 100%. Well done.
Yeah.
So let's get into that book, Marnie. You wanna talk a little bit and ask some questions about that?
So first, when I saw it online, I mean, I pinged you right after that on LinkedIn. As soon as I saw the title, I was like, "You are our people. Humans Still Required. This is a must read." That was before it was even out. So, and I'm excited to find out. I bought one of the first 5 copies. We won't talk about how I know that, but so you wrote it at a time when AI feels like it's moving faster than our ability to process, which really means school systems cannot keep up because they just have a very different cycle. What was the moment that made you feel like, okay, this is the time for this book because it's moving so fast?
Yeah, I think, I've had the honor and privilege over the last 3 years. I have found myself, I've been consulting in education since 2009, and I was still in the classroom at the time when I started consulting. But in the last 3 years since AI has come out, I've found myself spending a lot of time with school leaders, so whether that is superintendents or superintendent organizations across the United States and across the world, doing a lot of school boards and school board policy work, but spending a lot of times with leaders from, and again, teachers in the classroom are leaders as well, principal organizations. And the same theme kept coming back around this. How do we make sure we stay human? And in schools, we talk about, how do we make sure that kids are still critically thinkers? For some reason, we've decided that critical thinking is like the one thing that we always need kids to do. And so as I kind of dug into it, and because I was getting tired of people saying, but kids are going to forget to critically think. Humans are going to forget to critically think. So I started doing research. And here's the crazy part. We have been worried about people losing critical thinking skills since the 1960s. Like, you can go back and find written articles and research around TV was going to make us stop critically thinking. The
calculator.
The radio was going to make us stop critically thinking. And you can go back. I mean, there were books written in the 80s about how do we get kids to critically think more. Come to find out, I know this is going to shock the two of you, critically thinking is like really difficult for humans in general. And then you put it inside of a 13 or 14-year-old brain, and it's like really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem is we like to, in education, but in the world, we like to blame things like, well, we're not getting enough work production done because of this, or this person's not working hard enough because of that. And what it comes down to is this idea of how do we stay human and understand that there are these human skills that no matter what the AI does, no matter what technology comes along, there are things that stay human to us, right? And in the book, I try to argue those. And the one thing that keeps coming back is this idea of judgment, right? Is like the AI can do all kinds of things, but it cannot judge for me in my space what is right for me, what is right for my company. It can create the policy. It can't tell me if that policy is the right policy for my organization.
Yeah.
And so the idea behind Human Still Required was me hearing all of this and saying, yes, but we're getting away from the human element. And how do we just kind of go back and stay focused on the human side of things? Because this stuff is moving so quickly that you can get caught up in headlines very, very fast. And next thing you know, you're chasing things that aren't the things I feel like we should be chasing, which is the human things that make you a good leader, the human things that allow you to lead a team, the human things that make you know when that person needs a hug or when that person needs a tissue. Those are the things that no matter what happens with technology, that is going to be us leading the way.
Well, and to your point, AI can create a policy, but if there was one right policy, we would all just create one policy and then give it to everybody. Like guess what, folks? All policy departments gone. We're just going to have one AI policy. We know this is the right one because everyone's the same everywhere.
Yeah. And I do, I'm kind of sitting at this intersection right now where I'm working with businesses and organizations around AI and leadership work. And I'm also working in schools. And I see, to your point, I see this idea. A lot of that work is coming in human resources. Mm-hmm. To your point, the same policy does not impact every organization. Every organization has a human resource because you have to have people that understand what people need in those places. And every policy is tweaked to the culture of that organization, right?
Yeah.
And that to me is that's where, if we can lean into those, if we can lean into that, we understand that we don't need to be, laying people off because of AI. We need to be thinking, how are those jobs different? And what is the judgment factor that is now part of your everyday work that allows you to do your work better because of AI?
So let me ask you this, just kind of along those lines, in your consulting, whether it's through business or with education, do you feel like that there's one human skill that is being lost, right, because of AI, that they're relying too much on AI? Is it judgment? Is it, what is there something that's noticeably taking a hit with AI? And there may not be. I'm just curious if you see something that's obvious and stands out to people.
Yeah, I think the thing for me, and there's some research starting to come out around this right now, is this idea of cognitive surrender. I really love that term right now when it comes to AI. That what the research is starting to find is, because these tools sound so good, that we just believe them. We give up the judgment. We say, oh, it wrote the policy, that must be the right policy, I'll just implement the policy, without thinking about, does it fit right for my culture? Is this right for my team? And that's the part that I worry about, is this idea of, if we just surrender that it knows better than us, we're going to lose something. And I had a great conversation with a friend of mine last night who works in the marketing realm, and he was using ChatGPT on the plane ride home, and he was trying to get it to do a bunch of stuff. And he told me, he said, I found about 4 prompts in with ChatGPT, it was just putting me into a circle. And he's like, it wasn't actually answering anything for me. And he's like, I even asked it, it's like, why do you keep just repeating yourself? And he's like, it was for him this moment of, it's just a machine. It doesn't actually know his work. It can get him a little bit into his data, but it could not tell him how to translate that data to the team he's trying to sell to. And I thought, wow, that was a great cognitive moment for it to be able to back up and reflect and say, this is only going to get me so far. There's still something here that I need to do.
Yeah. Nick and I have talked about this, how they'll always suggest, oh, would you like me to do X, Y, or Z? If you don't have a goal in mind and you don't have a plan, you will drift 1% every time until you're off on another course altogether.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I talk a lot about in my trainings around AI is people like that, especially ChatGPT, I think is the worst of all the programs, where it says, now that I've done that for you, would you like me to put that into a 10 slide presentation? And
would you like the better version of that that I didn't give you this time?
Yeah. And everybody's just like, yes, please. Yes, please. And to your point, next thing you know, that's not even the point of what you started.
It wasn't your idea for sure.
Yeah. And now you're way off point, right?
So
and I think what a lot of people don't realize is that once you start going down that road, you start loading the latest context of the AI itself, and it gets lost to what your original premise was. I think there's a huge disconnect. I read something the other day. It's like, 0.3% of users of AI are actually power users, right? And the rest, the 99.7% of users, don't use it that often, and they're not literate enough to know where the gaps and the risks are with AI. And again, it all draws back to Marnie and I are huge proponents of everything that you just said, Jeff, right? There has to be some human judgment and some human guardrails around any interaction with AI. And it's really hard because it makes it sound so good. It's so encouraging. It's so uplifting to you in the way it presents the information. That it's kind of.
And I think one of the things is in the trainings that I do around AI, the very first thing I tell everybody is, if you've been prompting this thing as if it were Google, you're setting yourself up for a huge failure, right? Because that's like, you're asking it basic questions. And one of our problems is, for better or for worse, we've only ever been taught intrinsically and extrinsically to talk to our computers as if they're Google, because that's all we've had for the last 27 years. And so we've all been trained that way, either through school or just through life experience of how. So now a new technology comes along and we ask it the exact same thing we would ask Google. And then we get frustrated. We're like, well, this thing's not doing all the cool things that I hear it, that I'm reading that it can do. Right. Yeah. But nobody knows how to talk to it and how to prompt it. And I keep telling people, if your prompt isn't between 2 to 3 paragraphs, you haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg. And everybody keeps saying, yeah, but you don't have to prompt it that much anymore. You don't have to. But if you do, you get something way better than if you just gave it a couple sentences.
Yep.
And that's the skill. And I think what we're going through right now is a retraining of the skill of how do I work with computers. We did this with the internet. It took us years, but we got there. And now we're redoing that. We're having to retrain all of society to say, there's a new tool here, and now you're going to have to use it differently. And one of the things I love to, and because I do a lot of work in education, is I like to talk around research. I think research is the perfect example of how it has constantly changed with technology. Depending on your age, when you were in school, you might have been taught that research was done through the card catalog. And you were taught how to read a 3x5 index card in library. Like you were tested on the different parts. You took the card, you walked over to the bookshelves, you had to know the Dewey Decimal System. We taught that because that's what research looked like. And then we moved to microfiche and we taught everybody microfiche. I still have trauma from my university years going through microfiche, right? But then we all learned how to use microfiche. And then Google came along and we all learned how to use Google. That's what it meant to research. And now we have a new research tool and we're going to have to learn once again, what does it mean to research? Yeah. Because if you use Google, like you use the Dewey Decimal System or a card catalog, you weren't getting the best out of it. And so we've got to understand it's a move. It's what we do as humans. And we've got to figure out that it's a skill that we're going to have to work on.
So, Jeff, I hope you get to experience this. As a side note on the Dewey Decimal System, my library has a local fundraiser that's a putt-putt through the library. And I was putt-putting through the library and found Lead It Like Lasso, our book, with our Dewey Decimal System number. I was like, Nick, we've made it. We have a Dewey Decimal number. That feels like very
that's really institutional. Real book. Yeah.
It felt very, so it was so funny because that's an evening activity. So drinks and adult beverages are there. And as I'm saying this to my eightsome, because they don't just require foursomes, someone who clearly had some fun earlier was like, ma'am, did I just hear you say you had a book in the library? That's so fantastic. It was hilarious.
So great, right? That's how you know you made it. Like if it's in the library, you made it. Yeah.
It's for real. Anyway, that was an aside. So you kind of mentioned this, like there's some leaders are overhyping AI and some are terrified of it. So they steer the opposite direction. So like, in education, what's a healthy, balanced approach for it then?
I think I think we have to go into it with a bunch of curiosity. I think being curious right now, playing with it, I don't think you can shy away from it. You know, especially in education, we're always kind of behind the 8 ball because education is a slow institution.
Yeah,
and it
takes a while to change.
That's right. And it's a slow institution on purpose. I have nothing against education. We're supposed to be slow, right? We're playing with the future here. But we have to be curious in understanding what this has the potential to do. And I'm very excited that we are in education moving a lot faster in that curiosity than we did around social media. I think education at large learned its lesson from social media, where we became very cautious and we told teachers, don't engage kids, don't talk about it. You know, the whole business of you thing and branding yourself. We didn't do any of that. We stayed away from it. And now we have mental health crisis. We are now seeing cell phone bans. I've got a whole nother, don't even get me started on those. But, you know, we because we didn't see it or we've shied away from it. And one of the things that excites me is in the work that I'm doing and just where we are in education right now is we have leaders who didn't shy away. I think we learned our lesson. So I think staying curious right now, trying to find those edge cases, for leaders, it's about asking the right questions. If someone is using AI inside your organization, the question isn't, did you use AI? The question is, where did you judge what AI did? Where did you have to reframe your question? Where did you have to maybe tinker with or think through how you asked the question? Where in this output do you believe there might be a flaw that we need to consider? Like, those are leadership questions in the age of AI, not, oh my gosh, I can't believe you got this done in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You must be the best,
Yeah.
employee ever.
The question on that is like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that's one of the things we're struggling with from leadership is we used to, and this is the new book that I'm working on now, but we used to, we saw this idea of you could see in quotation marks, somebody working hard by the effort they put in, right?
Yeah.
Somebody was a good employee because they put in effort, and I can see them. They show up 5 days a week. They don't leave until the boss leaves. They are grinding through. I can see them, with their card catalogs down at the library doing the research. Like, you could see effort.
Yeah.
And one of the issues I think I want to make sure leaders are thinking through is in the age of AI, you might not be seeing effort in the same way. And so then we start getting into this, well, they're lazy. They're not doing their job. They just rely on AI to do everything for them. And I think part of it is we're going to have to, from a leadership standpoint, think back, okay, well, why did I actually hire that person? What is their cognitive ability that I need to ask different questions to make sure that their judgment, their understanding, their analysis of the output are still what I'm paying for, regardless of how fast they finish the task.
We help students who are trying to write college essays. And the interesting part is, like, I don't care if you use AI in your writing of it or not, but can you not look at what's written on that piece of paper and tell me what your essay is about?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, let's start there. And then if you read it aloud, would your mother say, yeah, that sounds like you? Because if not, then you're going to need to start over twice. Yeah.
I agree.
So let's flip this conversation on its head a little bit, right? So we talked about it from the from the leadership perspective. What about from a student perspective, right? If you were a high school or even a college student today, we talk to a lot of people. There's a lot of parents, especially, are just so concerned. My son, personally speaking, is about to graduate from college next month, and he is graduating with a degree in MIS and business analytics, which was spot on 4 years ago when he started, right? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is very different. But what if you're talking to a high school or college student? What would you tell them to focus on that AI can't easily replicate?
So I would tell kids, and whenever I get the opportunity to, I think one of the core skills is this idea of being able to learn, knowing how you learn best, and being able to pivot at the moment a company needs you to pivot. This thing is moving so quickly. And within that, I would say any skill around analytical analysis. Can you look at an output from AI and can you understand it? Can you read it? To Marion's point, does it sound like you? If not, do you understand what it's saying? If you can't explain it to somebody else, you can't say, and this is what's being, I think right now, becoming the new standard. You can't say, well, I don't get it, but this is what AI said. Nobody's taking that as a, as a defensible spot to stand. We've seen lawyers get disbarred because they said, well, I don't know, the cases, ChatGPT told me those were the cases and I didn't double check them. And so it's not on me. No, it's on you.
It is on. Yeah.
And so I think this idea of analyzing, right? Analyzing text, analyzing numbers, making sure that you're critically thinking through and judging the outputs, be able to stand behind whatever it is, regardless at whatever level you used AI, be able to stand behind it and say, yes, I used AI in this, but here's how I judged it. Here's how I made sure. Here are still the things that I'm not sure that, I had to make decisions on based on our community, based on the market, based on whatever. Here's the judgments I made in this output based on what I know about our company, our market, our people.
And where are people getting stuck in that process?
Sorry?
Where are people getting stuck in that? Like, are they getting that?
I don't think so. I think people who understand how AI works are getting it. I think people get stuck again in this cognitive surrender where it sounds so good.
Yeah.
And if I don't understand, it's so easy. And if I don't understand, it's nothing more than a prediction machine. One of the first things I teach everybody is the transformer part, GPT. The T is the transformer. It's nothing more than a prediction algorithm. And it's making predictions. It's not making predictions on my community. It's not making predictions on what I need or what my group or my team needs. It's making predictions based on 320 billion data points that it ingested when it got pre-trained, right? And so if you understand that, then you understand how to kind of look at it critically, much like my friend did who got caught in the loop, right? And all of a sudden he was just like, whoa.
Yeah, we're not getting anywhere.
I wasn't getting anywhere, and it's not getting me to where I need. And he's just like, screw this. I'm going to have to do that part on my own. I was like, yes. But I think so many people don't see that, don't understand that. They're not critically analyzing the results in a way that is truly human in judgment, analysis, reflection, the art of tying it back to whatever it is I'm trying to finish. I think that's the part right now that we're struggling with. And of course, if you're a student in high school, when I'm talking to students in high school, they're so smart. I mean, we just don't give them enough credit to begin with. They are making the determination for themselves on whether or not it was worth my effort. And so I'm hearing students say, you know what, that's a really cool assignment. I'm into that assignment. They're not going to use AI, or they use it in a very easy, basic way that's going to support them in their learning. But if you give them an assignment where they know it's just busy work, they know it's not really doing anything, oh my gosh, they're going to go leverage AI, and they don't care. They don't care. Like, why are you making me do something stupid? And the more kids I talk to, the more they're starting to be able to even say that. And the problem is today's kids are tomorrow's employees. And so you're going to have the employees of tomorrow saying, well, that's stupid. I'm just going to go AI do that because it can go look at that spreadsheet and create 3 graphs for you. And then I'm going to come back and you're going to say, but you didn't put any effort in. You're like, I did put effort in. I used AI. Here's the graphs you asked for. Like, wait, okay, but it only
if output's important, I got you the output you want.
Yeah, if that's all you want, then here you go,
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're struggling right now.
So it's interesting you say that. I was at a workshop the other night, and the person said that high schoolers today in particular are not, one of the things they will not do is waste time. Now, what they are doing, you might consider a waste of time, right? But whatever you're asking them to do might be a waste of time for them. So 100%. Yeah, I think you just summed that up.
And this gets to the book I'm writing now, is this idea that we're in the middle of this transition, and it's a double transition. And I'm pitching this to you right now on the podcast. You're the first to hear this. So
excellent.
See if this makes sense.
Okay.
Right now we're trying to lead through a double transition. One transition is we're redefining what it means to work. This idea of work is being redefined, and it's being redefined by our youngest generation because of everything you just said. They're not willing to do it. They've been raised in a techno overload landscape that they will leverage any technology, whatever it is, AI being one of it. They'll leverage it all to get their work done, right? So we're redefining the idea of effort inside of organizations. So the definition of work is changing right now, and I have leaders who are struggling with that change, right? At the same time, what is the structure of work is also changing. AI is changing the structure of what work actually is, right? So the definition of work is changing. At the same time, the structure of what work actually is changing. And what are the skills now you need to work? And so leaders right now are trying to lead through this double transition of a generation who is defining work for themselves, and they're not willing to budge. Unlike other generations who, we were told, and we're all pretty much the same age, we were told, like, you suck it up and you go do what you have to do. This generation is like, I don't suck it up. If your purpose doesn't fit my goal, I'll go find somebody else that does. And they just leave. Yeah. Right. And so we're redefining work. And then at the same time, AI, as you hear everywhere, is the structure of work is changing. And so we're trying to lead both of these at the same time. And that's a lot for a leader.
I love the concept. I want to see the thesis on how to deal with that, Jeff. I mean, I'm curious.
Right. Well,
yeah, I'm in for a copy.
Human skills somehow, some way.
Yeah. So But that's what I'm hearing this over and over again. I'm hearing it from teachers in school who can't motivate kids because they're just not willing to do it as a high school student. But I'm also hearing it from, organizations, and I'm doing a lot of work, for better or for worse, in the manufacturing industry right now, where they're just saying, these kids why can't they work? Why won't they work? I was like, well, they are working. They're just not working the way you want. You still want them to show up 5 days a week and put effort in, and you want to see them doing it. That's not how this generation does it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Although I will say the word of caution for this generation, right, is an outcome is that these technical skills are becoming commoditized, right? So they have to figure out how to stand out and differentiate themselves, because the competition is it's significantly more vast than it was when we were younger, right? Because it's so easy to obtain these skills. And their ability to show that they are not lazy, i.e. everything that you just talked about, Jeff, in doing the analytical, the judgment, all those types of things, is what's going to help them stand out and differentiate themselves. So your book, Humans Still Required, I think our book, The Business of You, these are the skills that I think will help to some extent handle, it's not the full solution, but it's a good mitigation from both sides, the leadership side and the younger side, saying, okay, I understand that this younger generation isn't budging, but I could also communicate to them, this is how I can understand how you stand out and differentiate. And the same thing, vice versa. I just went in a circular loop, just like ChatGPT. I lost.
I think it's easy to get into that loop, because this is why it's a double transition, right? Two things are happening at the same time. We're redefining this idea of work, and we're struggling with a generation because they are redefining it different. And we all blame Gen Zers for doing this, but we all want it too. We all want work-life balance. We just didn't know it. We didn't know. But now that
we didn't know we were allowed to ask for it.
We didn't know we weren't allowed to ask for it. But these generations are saying, I want work-life balance. And all of us in our 40s, 50s, and 60s are like, oh my gosh, that would be really cool. I want that too. And so they're bringing in the concepts, but it's impacting everybody in the line, right? And so it's what I love about this generation, man. They've got so much tenacity. They don't even know how good they are. I work with this generation all the time. But to your point, Nick, we have to understand that there are these, what used to be called soft skills, right? The being able to have judgment, to be able to analyze, to ask good questions, to be able to grind through some of the stuff. And at the same time, how do I leverage these incredible tools that happen to be here with me on planet Earth at this time in ways that allow me to do incredible things for an organization? If we can get people to understand, if we can get young adults to understand that's the work, I think we will be in a really good place. And this is where I love, when Marnie and I met before, when we started talking about our two books, exactly like you, Nick, we're just like, these two books are like perfect together. I mean, these are the skills and the ideas and the things that are coming out, that if we can get this in front of a generation, if we can support an educational institution in changing on what we need workers of the future to be, we're going to be in a really good spot.
So we always like to end with, like, what is a leadership rule that you live by or you think others should live by? I feel like you sort of started summing it up there, but do you have a specific one?
I think for me, the number one rule comes from my wife, who's a 25-year school counselor. And every single time I go to leave to do a workshop, to do presentations, to do a keynote, the last thing she always says to me is, don't forget to listen. And I think if there is one rule for every leader to live by, it is to remember to listen first, listen carefully, focus on listening. And then from there, you can make those decisions. That is where, to me, the art of leadership begins, is you've got to be able to listen, and listen deeply, and understand perspectives. I mean, those are the skills, from leadership to employment. Like you've got to be able to listen and really be able to dig in. So for me, that's still the number one skill that I lean on.
So good. So good. So Jeff, for our audience who want to know more about Humans Still Required, Shifting Schools, anything and everything about Jeff Utecht, can you give us a little talking points on where to find you?
Yeah. So the easiest place is jeffutecht.com. That's got links to everything, but humanstillrequired.com has its own website. You can go over there. There's a little audio file of me talking about it as well. Shifting Schools is where my co-host of the Shifting Schools podcast, Trisha, and I, we do all kinds of things educationally focused at Shifting Schools. Shifting Schools came out of the pandemic and supporting almost 45,000 educators through adjusting to online learning and the hybrid thing. And it's just been very successful ever since then. So that's been a good little thing. But yeah, I mean, I've been around for a while, so you can pretty much Google me and anything and everything
should pop up.
Yeah. But jeffutecht.com's got everything. That's a good place to go. That's where the new book will come out as well. Right now I'm naming it The Transition Layer, but I don't know. I'm still playing with names. So
that's what I was going to ask what it was going to be. All right.
Yeah, we'll see.
You got a maybe on the transition layer.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I like that name, but I don't know. It's not fitting with me yet. So I don't know. We'll see. But.
Well, very cool. Well, we will put those links in our show notes. And Jeff, can't thank you enough for spending the time with us. This has been a really enjoyable conversation.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And I'm excited for all the listeners. We're going to reverse these roles here, and I'm going to get to interview you about your book over at Shifting Schools. So head over there to get the other side of this conversation, which I'm going to guess is going to be a lot of just what we said in just a little bit different context. So I'm excited to do this podcast swap with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.